Right, well here we are again, back at the workshop. A wee bit of time's gone since the last videoing of the Austin 7. So some stuff's happened behind the camera, which I'll take you through to start with. Today's mission, to do the rear brakes, which I've got a box of stuff right there, which I bought off a friend who was closing his business down, and I said to him, oh, have you got any braking stuff for a KP61 start? And he goes, I'll have a look. So he rang me up and he says, oh look, I went through the shelves and I found all this stuff, saw it in the box, and it was X number of dollars, and I went, sounds good. So I bought it all. Unfortunately there wasn't a master cylinder in there, but we should be able to find one of those hopefully. So I'll take you through what we've done since we had the engine running, which was, if you're watching these videos in sequence, it would have been the last video you watched, but for here it was a wee while ago. So what I've actually done since then is we have done some brake work, obviously. Turn the little camera around. So now you can see down in here, front brake hose hooked up into there. I don't know if you can see just in there, and it comes out of here, and we've got some new brake pipes run down there across the front of the car and up the other side into the clip which holds the brake hose in, and down in here we've got the T-piece for the front brake pipe to go from there up to the master cylinder, which we haven't put in yet because there's no body on the car. And as you can see in that little quick glance there, there's no rear wheels on the car, and the fuel tank's in the way, but never mind. We've done brake line from there all the way under there, all the way under there to the little T-piece in there, which was a bit of a prick to put in. I'll show you the bit better picture there. But so that brake pipe goes all the way across the back to there, and it comes back out here to the T-piece and then disappears up to here. This hose here took quite a while to figure out where to put it, mainly because when the diff goes up and down we don't want it contacting anywhere in here. So as you can also see, we've run the rear brake pipe and the rear petrol pipe down the chassis, all the way under there, all the way through there, all the way along there, and all the way up to there to the front. Now I haven't finished those off, obviously, because that needs to be done when the body's on. So that's all been done. And the other thing I've done is situated the fuel tank. Now it's just sitting there at the moment. There's the fuel outlet there. So that goes, the hose goes from there underneath there, and it'll come around and pop back up into there. When I get the body on, you can hear that rain, I can position this where it needs to go, and we can just glue it onto the frame, and that should be sufficient to hold the fuel tank in. So that's what I've been doing, or have done in the recent past. I don't think much else has changed on the car, apart from the fact that it's now back on its trolley. So what we're going to do today, hopefully, is in this box I've got 2 sets of rear shoes, because he had them, so I bought them. And what I don't use, I'll resell. And there was front brake pads, which I don't need because it doesn't have Toyota Scarlet front brake. But there's the 2 different sizes of rear wheel cylinders. So today's job is to pull the drums off, new rear shoes and cylinders, so that all the rear brakes will be new. So yeah, rear brake time. Now, as you can see, haven't had that off yet, and I might actually put some gloves on. And as usual, I'm not that, what's what I'm looking for? Organised is the word I was looking for. Yeah, I'm not that organised today, so I'll just go and grab some gloves. So I've got my gloves, I knew where they were, so yeah, I might just get the big hammer out, get that one, give it a couple of backs. That sounded loose. I shouldn't really be using that hammer, it's not designed for that sort of punishment. I'll grab this other one and we'll well, there's lots of stuff coming out. If you can see all this down the bottom. Oh, that looks good in there. Not. Oh, Yeah, well, looks pretty toast. That would be putting it nicely. See, this is the problem, you see, when you buy stuff and you expect it's not going to be too bad. But this is not good looking. I'm busy standing here looking for my torch, can't find it. Yeah. So here we have what you would call no brake shoe on there. That's gone. But we're not really worried about that fact. This we know will be dead. That one there's still got some brake shoe on it. That's pretty minging in there, I must admit, you know. But the thing is, in there doesn't look that mint by a long chalk. So we'll find out about that later when we get stuff tidied up. I've still got to do that job. I've still got to get in here and relieve the other side of this down the bottom there, because the drive shaft's rubbing on it, which I thought it would. So that's another job I have to do before put the body on. Take drive shaft off and see I've got this line drawn on here and the same on the bottom. So I've got to do that as well. Now this, if you're from overseas and you're not au fait with New Zealand regulations, if you put any modified vehicle which has a drive shaft which has been altered, we've got to have a drive shaft hoop, and the drive shaft has to be certified to say that it's been done correctly. So I've got the certification for this drive shaft, but you've got to have a hoop, and this is a wee bit overkill. I think normally they've only got to sort of be like, I don't know, I think it's at 50 mil or something. But because of the way I've designed the structure, it's that big. So I can quite happily cut that out and it's not going to affect the operational safety of the drive shaft hoop. That sounds awful, doesn't it? So I'm a bit disappointed about all this crap in here. I thought, yeah, no, it'll be reasonably tidy in there. The shoes will be half wornish or whatever. But we're down to rivets and steel and, yeah, cast iron drums and steel brake shoes don't normally go well, because the steel brake shoe's stronger than the cast iron drum, so the cast iron drum wears more. So this car's had a really good thrashing in its previous life. Makes you wonder what the actual gearbox is like. Never mind, that's another problem. So I'll put you back on the tripod. I've just spied my little chair and we'll get into it. Right, here we go, we're back with some light. Does that make it better? Does that make that better for you to see? What about that? So, yeah, I'm just trying to buy a rear brake drum. I don't know. Right, let's get into it. Otherwise we'll still be here and we won't have got anything done. Looks like I've got most of the tools I need here on my tool trolley just beside me. So we'll just rip all this to bits. And I'm sure a lot of you viewers out there, you've done all this stuff yourself. I mean, just would you look at that? You know, there's a wee bit of shoe left on here, just there, but all the rest of it's gone, and it's fair horrible in there. Oh, I can see hours of cleaning, and it's not something that I really want to be doing. You know, I've got to go home, and I've got gin to make and stuff. Yeah, of course, the other trick of the trade, if you know, is that when you're doing a job like this, you only do one side at a time. So if you get lost, you can't remember where shit goes, you can just look at the other side. So that is pretty rank in there. If I could really be bothered, you'd probably take that backing plate off, and but to do that, you obviously got to pull the axle, and I don't really want to pull the axle because then you're into the field of replacing axle seals, and then yeah, it just snowballs from there. You don't want to be doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what you've been doing while I've been away. I hope you've all been busy working on your projects. I've been working on the other project at home, because a man can not only have one project, you've got to have many, because having one project's pretty boring. So I haven't used a pipe spanner to get that fitting off, because the fitting I only just put in a couple of weeks ago. So you can see the advantage of when I decided to do this car, I built this table for it, so that you're not actually stuck on the ground working on it, and you can, it's at a nice workable height. So that there, oh yeah, oh, that's looking pretty bad in there. Why is that like that? It's the wrong tool for the job. It's got funny coloured cylinders. Oh yeah. So what size is that? Oh, it's a 3/4. So it's got on there 3/4. So hopefully in that box of bits, there's 2 3/4 wheel cylinders. Now I've got to get in there and clean all the stuff off. Of course, the other issue I have with the brakes on this car, which I haven't really figured out yet, I might be able to get away with it, is the handbrake cables might be a tad long. But yeah, I won't know till we actually get in there to do that. That diff doesn't sound like it's got any oil in it either. There's that strange knocking noise. Never mind. I need the little wire brush. If I can remember where that is. So yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty shit weather lately. I was telling the guys the other night, when we were out doing our Thursday night thing, that I said to them, and they were quite interested in this actually, I said to them, did you know that for the last 4, and I'm saying 4 Thursday nights, it's been raining? And they went, nah, it hasn't, has it? Oh yeah, you think about it. We were at Matt's and it was raining. We went to mine and it was raining. We went to ours and it was raining. And we've just been to Grant's and it was raining. You know, I feel like we're living in a bloody goldfish bowl. Every time you go outside, you get wet. Does that look better? I'm not sure. I can feel Mr. Brake Cleaner coming out. But what I really need is a little to stick under there to catch all the stuff. It wasn't actually the container I was looking for, but it'll do. Kim's. Made in New Zealand. It's not too bad of stuff. Not as good as the stuff I used to use, but that was American, and then it obviously became way too expensive to bring in, so it's really hard to find. And if you do find it, it's bloody expensive. I'd say there's been some abuse going on in the back of this car. Oh, that's good, isn't it? All over the tools. Wonderful, as he's looking around for a piece of rag. You know, one of these days you would think, I think I've been doing this long enough now to know, you need to get shit organised. No, because I watch other people in their YouTube channels and they seem to be so much more organised than I am. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if I've ever told you, but I hate cleaning stuff. I think it goes back to when you're an apprentice or the new boy on the block. Every time you used to go somewhere or start a different department, oh, we've got a new cleaner. So probably why I hate cleaning stuff. Well, that looks marginally better than it did. Put that under there. I don't know, can you hear that rain out there? It's coming down. So here we go. We've got the 2 choices. Oh, let's sit down. Thirsty work this. Right, wonder what size this is. It looks like it's got the right bolt spacing and stuff. 38. How does that mean? This means we're going to have to measure it, is it? Right, we've got to measure it. Measuring tool. Come on, Richard. We've got 3/4. Yep, 3/4. So that was the one we wanted. That was the number 337. Actually, what we might do before we put this in, we're going to do a little bit of pre-maintenance or such, as you call it. So what we're going to do is just pull this apart. Finger in there, and we'll throw some rubber grease in there and then reassemble it, because if you know projects can sometimes take a while to finish. So if we just threw those in there now, there is the possibility that you could get moisture in there and they'd be rusty before, or seize up even before you've used it. So we've got the rubber grease, so just a bit of rubber grease in there and around the piston and the seal. Put that back in there. Of course, now I've got rubber grease on everything, trying to get the seal on, the boot on. There we go. Don't forget to put the spring back in. It's actually a funny looking spring. It's a tapered spring. I don't know why they would have done that, but it's not for us to ask why. You just do it right here, like so. Yeah, it sounds like it's working in there. So we can get that ready to bolt on now. Put the cover back on there so we get crap in the grease. 2 nuts we took off. Oh yeah, nuts, yeah, no, they look fine. We can just reuse those. Everything's covered in dirt. Take the dirt nipple out. Right, so we can remount the wheel cylinder. And it's always good when you're doing a project and you can tick another thing off the list. I don't know if that's why we do it, because we just like doing stuff. See, I like doing stuff rather than using the end product. Although I enjoyed driving the Fiat round, because it's quite good to drive. But I mean, there's that other project just sitting over there, that's waiting patiently. Hasn't been waiting as patiently as long as this one, but it's coming along. We actually haven't done any videos on that one yet, only to say that that's been in progress for a couple of years and it's chewed up a wee bit of money. Right, so we've got that in. Now the next thing we need to do is to sort out the rear shoes and probably give all these, oh look, it still turns, it's not all seized up. So I might actually turn the camera off for a while and we will build up the rear shoes so they look like that with new ones in there, and get all that cleaned up, and we'll come back. Well, yes, I'm back again, and I haven't actually done what I said I was going to do, but I thought, because there is a thing about brake shoes on cars. I mean, you look and see, so that's a new one. Where's that old one? And that's the old Mingen one. So rear brake shoes. It's going to sound really weird, but they're not all the same. So if you look at that one there, so look at that shoe there. It's high at the top and it's got a gap at the bottom. So that shoe there, is the trailing shoe. So that goes on the back. And if you turn this one around, so this is the leading shoe which goes on the front. So it's down at the top and all the way to the bottom. So the idea of that is when you apply the brake, centrifugal force tries to rotate the shoe around. So you get a lot of force on there. And this one, because it's pushing against the direction of rotation, is trying to pull it that way. So leading shoe, trailing shoe. Trailing shoe always goes on the rear. And I think I got that around the right way. Yes, I did. So this is the old rear trailing shoe. So, and you can see that is pretty, if you look at, see there, you got that gap, that height there, and you go all the way around the front to just about nothing. So it's doing all its work basically from there up. So it's trying to push against the drum, and this bit does bugger all. So this one here is the new one that goes on there, and you can see how much material is on there compared to how much material has disappeared off that one. So if you're ever doing brake shoes, doesn't matter whether it's on the front or the back, you've got to determine which shoe goes where, because if you put them around the wrong way, the brakes work crap. So leading and trailing shoes is important, and on some cars the differences between the two is very minute, and you've really got to look and understand what you're doing, or you take note of where you take them off, put them down, get the new ones, and then match them. And sometimes you'll get some shoes which have been rebonded, and some people when they rebond them don't take this into consideration, and so you sit there and you go, I'm not sure, and you've got to work it out. So just a little aside, I thought I'd just a little doodah on leading and trailing shoes. In saying that, some cars, especially in the front, if they've got drum brakes, they'll have twin leading shoes, so they both do the same work, in which case the shoes are the same. But on cars that normally have one single cylinder, like on the back of this car, you'll have a leading and trailing shoe. Okay, so we've been away and we have done that, so we've got that all total to work. We've also been away and we've cleaned this up and got this all nicely lubed up, because that bit there was seized on as well, just to make life difficult. So now we've got to put all that back onto there. So the first thing we need to do is obviously hook up the handbrake cable again. Let's see if we can get this done. So there, and there, like that. And then you've got this gubbins here, which goes there, I think, and there, and there, and there, and then that clips into there, and that all just shoots up into there, like that, so it all goes like that. Where's the hole? There, around the back there somewhere. Oh, come on, found it. So when you're doing this, you've got to turn that little pin into the locking piece for that. So like that, pliers, and then if you're lucky enough, get in there. But I'm not, because I can't see because my hand's in the way of the light. Hang on, move the light so I can actually see what I'm doing. There, come on, line up to play the game. I've found normally that in doing these sorts of jobs, it either goes in the first time or it's an absolute sod. Got that lined up, twist, and so that's done. Okay, we got that bit done. So that's the first shoe in. And we forgot something, didn't we, Richard? Got to put that little spring on, Richard, which is not going to be so problematic, or is it? I knew I should have put that on first, because it's got to go in there. I can see where it's got to go and where it's got to go to, but I'll take that back off again. Well, you know, such is life. I was rushing. So when you put all this together, there's a said spring. This spring here, which goes in there like that, and goes down to there. So that's the little spring on there that I forgot to put on. So now we get to do this with this all again. So turn that so it's orientated like that. That in there. So that lines that up there. With your finger and look at that. Second time a charm. So there you go. That one's it. I mean, when you've done a few rear brake jobs, I suppose you get used to doing them. Now, so that's the trailing shoe. That's the leading shoe. So if we put those two side by side, you can see the difference between there and there. So this is the leading shoe, goes on that side there. Even though all this bit here looks the same on both shoes, it's this length here from there to there is what you're looking for. So how are we going to do this? We'll go from the bottom first, shall we? Put that spring on, go up into there. Need about 10 hands to do this. It goes up there, come on, get in there. Oh, come on. Oh, just don't do this to me. Push that up into there. There we go, like that and there, like that. Don't really worry about that at the moment. Pliers, grab hold of said big spring, grab that. That goes into that hole there. Done. So if you've got a rear brake and you're not sure whether the pistons are seized or anything in there, when you've got the drum off, if you can do that, it's a piece of cake. Sometimes you've got to put if it's a wee bit seized, put screwdrivers in there, just wriggle them backwards and forwards and they'll free them up. So same trick on this side with that pin. I mean, some cars can be an absolute dog because the flange hides these things and you get a little hole like that, you got to do it through. And they just, don't talk to me about that stuff, they're just a nightmare. So you get that in there and turn that round. So that's that done. I know some of you are saying to me, Richard, you've forgotten something. Well, I have sort of, but I don't normally do it, and that's to put some contact grease for these things to slide. But for what we're building, I don't think it's really going to matter. You won't be able to, if the brakes squeak, I mean, you're not going to be able to hear it because of the exhaust. So what we've got to do now is we'll go away and we'll give it a clean up and see how bad that brake drum really is. But I think it's probably toast. You could put some jam on that and eat it. It's toast. But we'll come back to that in a couple of minutes. So, yep, well, you know, life goes on. So we've given that a bit of a clean up. For a Richard job, for my car, it'll do. We'll just pretend we didn't see all those scoring marks in there. If it was a client's car, we'd probably be saying to them, oh, well, you know, we could get that machined, but I've just measured it and it is still within spec. So like they say, on it goes. So that's, apart from the adjusting and bleeding of that brake, that side's done. And every time I look, there's other stuff which I'm still not happy about, namely the rear suspension. I've got to change the angle of the rear shock mounts again. So I think we could possibly maybe even say that that was enough for today, because really I wasn't expecting to have to do all that cleaning and stuff to get that to look from what it was to look like that, which is a lot better, and it will be serviceable and will work. The roughness of that may make that brake perhaps drag a bit more than the other side, but the other side's probably just as bad, to be honest, which is why I think today I think I've had enough. And yeah, it's kind of stopped raining outside for the time being, so I think we'll wrap that up today. Oh, before we do that, hang on, just as a little aside, yesterday being a work day and stuff, because I only work half day on Friday, I had an issue with my Subaru I just bought. And It's one of the cars I've got in the workshop at the moment. There's another one up there, and there's a whole bunch of other cars over there which we're all beaving away on. So I bought this Legacy. Oh look, rear tyre off the Austin 7, and it had some noisy, well I thought originally, because it was a fresh import from Japan, I thought, oh it's got noisy tyres. But turn out that, no, it had these. And as you can, if you look at that, see all that rusty grime coming through from behind the wheel bearing. This side's not so bad, but that there, 2 noisy rear wheel bearings on my new to me Legacy from Japan. Not a cheap fix. I mean, I did put genuine parts back on it, and when I ordered them, I said, have you got any of these in stock? I mean, yeah, we've got loads of stock. I mean, well, if they've got them in stock, it means it's a common issue, so we shall see how long they last. I mean, the car's only done 130,000 Ks, so one would assume that they're probably only good for 100,000, because it was fairly noisy. But anyway, the car's nice to drive now, it's nice and quiet. And what else can I rattle on about? Rear tyre there. I think we've covered everything that I've done on this just recently. Yeah, so it's coming along. I have yet to I haven't finalised the steering rack yet, because I've got to pull that apart and do all the adjustments and stuff, paint it, and then put it back on. So yeah, things are kind of progressing along. I need to get this thing finished and out of here, but that rear suspension's really, it's irked me the whole time I've been building the car, and it's still irking me. It was a bit of a mission the other week to do the fuel line, because the fuel line is actually steel, it's not copper nickel like the brake line, and it's quite hard to bend, and so it goes all through here, all the way along there, and then pops up here to where the firewall is, and I'll have that flash looking filter unit, which I've had some feedback on. People say, oh no, don't clean it, don't do anything to it, but I have actually cleaned it, but I don't think I'll polish it. So yeah, I think we'll wrap that up there, and we'll talk to you again.